The Shining, a film that requires little to no introduction. Widely regarded as one of, if not the most innovative and intriguing horror film of all time, Kubrick employs many of his trademark techniques throughout this film. From Kubrick's attention-grabbing use of one-point perspective to the eerie stare his demented characters frequently possess, Stanley Kubrick has multiple approaches that establish him as a unique director. The way that he builds tension throughout his filmography, just like many other aspects of his films, are reflective of his perfectionist personality. This video essay will specifically look at the confrontation scene between Jack and Wendy in the rising action of The Shining, and the three techniques that emphasize the suspense and tension of the scene. The Shining is Stanley Kubrick's 10th feature film, and the first and only horror film in his filmography. Very loosely based on the novel of the same name by Stephen King, the movie follows Jack Torrance, a former teacher and writer who becomes a winter caretaker at the Overlook Hotel. Bringing his son and wife with him to the isolated hotel, the film is littered with occurrences that foreshadow the hectic third act of the film. Jack accepts the position because it will allow for him to get some writing done, but it is evidently clear that Jack's main focus is not truly his writing as he continuously procrastinates. As his writing proves unsuccessful and his son, Danny, has psychedelic visions, Jack uncovers the supernatural aspects of the Overlook Hotel and slowly descends into a psychotic state of murderous rage, which Kubrick masterfully expresses in the confrontation scene between Jack and Wendy. A very underrated aspect of this scene, and The Shining as a whole, is Shelley Duvall's acting. As always, Nicholson does a great job in conveying Jack Torrance's insanity and the emerging climax of his descent into madness, but Duvall perfectly juxtaposes Nicholson's psychotic manner. As Jack calmly approaches Wendy, she reacts just as anybody would. Her frantic panic perfectly portrays the unexpected emotions of fear and reluctancy all at once. She knows that Jack has gone mad and she wants to take her son to safety, but she also knows that there is no escape. The Overlook Hotel is miles and miles away from society, mentally and physically trapping Wendy. Due to the hotel already being built up as an inescapable setting, and Shelley Duvall's acting which perfectly encapsulates Wendy's fear, this scene has the emotional and narrative components that heighten the tension. Even further, we can look at the subtle irony in the two opposing reactions. Wendy, who has been built up as the only voice of reason throughout the narrative, has now broken down into tears, while Jack, the homicidal maniac attempting to murder his wife, calmly approaches her as if nothing is wrong. Above all, the acting in any scene lays the ground for the tension. When done badly, the acting can make a serious scene comedic, but when done believably, the acting will make the scene scarier because of the realism. The lighting throughout the scene encapsulates the state of mind of the two characters. On the right, Jack's only source of lighting is from a window which blurs out his face and makes him look unclear. The lighting depicts Jack's unpredictable state of mind, conveying an ominous ambience. On the other hand, Wendy's side is brightly lit, allowing for the audience to see her emotions vividly. With the strong lighting, she appears at once fearful, yet strong with the only weapon. Even though she has the upper hand, the duality of her emotions and her lack of help due to the isolation causes her fear. Throughout this entire scene, Jack's out of focus and ominous lighting opposes Wendy's clear and bright lighting, depicting the distinct values and intentions of the characters, Jack being ill-intentioned and Wendy being pure of heart. The acting that I previously talked about simply enhances the contrasting lighting of the two characters. In addition to the lighting, the position of the camera plays a key role in establishing the character's psyche. Throughout the entire scene, Jack is never shot from a low-angle perspective. On the other hand, Wendy is always in either a low-angle or eye-level shot. While it seems that Jack is truly in charge due to his verbal abuse, these details suggest otherwise. Nonetheless, the verbal exchange between the two characters continues to imply that Jack has the advantage, Jack speaking coherently while Wendy stutters and cries. Yet, it is one prop that explains why Wendy truly has the upper hand in this scene: the bat. From the moment in which Jack catches Wendy going through his deceptive script, Jack is unarmed. This creates a sense of assurance to the audience, showing that Wendy has the option to avoid being harmed and attack back. However, it is Wendy's reluctancy to do so that increases the tension. Tension is more about the buildup of suspense rather than having the action occur, and this scene exemplifies that necessity. For about 5 minutes, the audience is subject to the prospect of violence, and this prospect is one that has been built up throughout the entire film. Up until this point in the movie, there has been no violence on screen from any of the characters, building up tension not just for these 5 minutes, but for the past hour and 25 minutes. At this point, Kubrick's willingness to wait pays off as the audience is on edge, awaiting the climax. In this scene, Stanley Kubrick's use of lighting and the believably fearful acting from Duvall and Nicholson play key roles in creating tension. But it is the following technique that makes this scene one of the tensest of all time. According to film composer Lawrence Rosenthal, film is a visual oral rather than a verbal intellectual medium, and the movement of the camera plays a large part in the visual aspect of film. For 4 minutes and 18 seconds, the camera continuously moves with the characters in this confrontation. This constant movement signals that the violence is now inevitable, and as the audience realizes this, so does Wendy. Jack's verbal abuse is beginning to eerily evolve. From the moment in which he walks away from his desk towards Wendy, the camera moves with the two characters alternating between eye level and over-the-shoulder perspectives. As aforementioned, the camera continually moves from this point on, immersing the audience into the action. Keep in mind that this constant camera movement differs from the tracking shot which Kubrick uses later in this film. While tracking shots are used solely to attract visual interest, this scene uses the alternating movement to immerse the audience in the confrontation and create a sense of urgency. The camera keeps on moving as the threat of violence becomes more and more evident and Wendy realizes that she must do something. And then the camera stops, simply panning over to show Jack's body falling down the stairs, fulfilling the promise of violence which tension creates. Overall, there are many aspects of this scene, and The Shining as a whole, that makes it a masterpiece. But the acting, lighting, camera angles, and camera movement are the four techniques that establish this scene as a masterclass of suspense and building tension. All of these aspects add on to the very unexpected realism of this film, and that is why this is a scene that goes up there with the Sicario highway scene as one of the tensest of all time.